Somos Anonymous. Somos Legión.
ونحن نتسامح مع جرائم.
Understand that something is horribly wrong with this world.
Thousands of secrets have been leaked, millions of dollars have been stolen, and billions have been invested by the FBI trying to take this cunning hacker down. Except this isn't one hacker. It's a much wider, much more relentless hacking group. You know them, we know them, and government agencies know them as Anonymous. After years of gathering cyber intelligence, the FBI has finally been able to pinpoint one of the organization's strongest members. And with him now acting as an informant, the rest of the hacktivists have started to crumble. Who is Anonymous? How did they slip up? And what's next for so-called hacktivism? Let's find out. Ever since computers have become mainstream technology, cunning and hopeful thieves from near and far have been devising plans to use them to their advantage. Thus, the age of cyber hacking was born. In 2018 alone, hackers from all around the world cumulatively stole $1.7 billion. More than 950 million of which came from cryptocurrency exchanges and infrastructure. If crypto wasn't the target, banks were, or individuals, or government agencies, or large-scale money-hungry conglomerates. Hackers didn't care who they were stealing from so long as they got what they were after. While that motive might ring true for most hackers, it doesn't cover all of them. We've all heard of Anonymous, right? Founded in 2003, what began as a subculture of like-minded individuals with a strong sense of justice and a desire to wreak havoc eventually evolved into the world's largest decentralized international hacktivist movement. Anonymous isn't just one dude coding in his mom's basement. In fact, we have no idea how many people are part of the collective. Because Anonymous isn't so much an organization as it is a guise. A guise for any justice-minded, boundary-straddling computer geek to make a difference in the community. Yes, you could even join if you want to. Anonymous has no gatekeepers to stop you. However, they do recommend that you first consider joining activism groups that operate within the confines of the law. The group first gained worldwide press for Project Chanology, the protest against the Church of Scientology, and then continued making headlines in the coming years for attacks on Sony, the Spanish police, the Australian government, the Boston Police Department, MasterCard, PayPal, Interpol, and more, and have announced their support for civil movements such as Occupy Wall Street, WikiLeaks, and Occupy Nigeria. Even though Anonymous is an ever-changing collective with an unquantifiable number of rotating members, some of which are expert hackers, some of which are a little more than protesters with a keyboard, there have still been a select few people spearheading its operations. We'll discuss how two of Anonymous's high-profile hackers succumbed to the authorities, and we'll hope that they're not watching this video. But before we do, if you're wondering what exactly is hacktivism, we'll spell it out for you. Simply put, a hacktivist is someone who uses hacking to bring about political and social change, like providing citizens with access to government-censored web pages. Over its close to a decade-and-a-half tenure, the financial damage that Anonymous has caused has been huge. In 2010, under heavy pressure from the government, PayPal cut off its services to WikiLeaks, and Anonymous wasn't happy about it. The Anonymous hack cost PayPal close to $6 million, and that's just one of the organizations that's been hit. All up, the number easily rockets into the tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars. Make no mistake though, governments are on the hunt to find these hacktivists and bring them down, and they're throwing money in every direction along the way. The proposed 2021 Department of Defense cybersecurity budget is just under $9.85 billion US, and the Department of Homeland Security's is $2.6 billion US of its own. Each of these divisions contributes to a total government cybersecurity value of close to $18.78 billion. Far, far more than the cumulative cost of Anonymous's exploits. Despite opening themselves up to opportunities to steal credit card numbers and gain immediate access to cash, Anonymous typically focuses on political motives and bringing attention to the issues at hand rather than blatant thievery. While they may have taken a slice of the money pie for themselves, we can't know for sure. What we do know, however, is that Anonymous claims to have donated $500,000 and counting in stolen cash to charities. Now, about those Anonymous ringleaders. Perhaps the most famous hacker to walk the Anonymous walk is Hector Monsegur, otherwise known as his online character, Sabu. The key to taking down Anonymous. Scratch that. The key to taking out some of their main players and putting a dent in their progress, because you can never really take down an idea, was infiltrating Lulz Security, an influential splinter group of hackers. The offshoot Anonymous branch had taken credit for hitting the websites of Sony, Fox, and PBS, among others. Hector Monsegur was the alleged leader of Lulz Security, and had a target on his back ever since he'd accidentally forgotten to implement rule number 1 in the hacker community: never show your real IP address. After Hector had mistakenly left his IP IP address exposed, investigators were able to track his location to an apartment in Manhattan's Lower East Side. Federal agents then collected the final piece of the puzzle to take down Monsegur on June 7, 2011. That night, a handful of agents had appeared at his door and arrested him for sending stolen credit card information to a relative. The original sentence on the table was in excess of 20 years in prison. However, the thought of accepting his fate and winding up spending the rest of his life behind bars was ruining him inside. Hector was the legal guardian of his young cousins, a 5-year-old girl and a 7-year-old girl, and he couldn't bear the thought of them going into the foster system. So, despite feeling like he was betraying himself and the hacktivism community, he made his girls his priority and opted for the option behind door number 2, collaborate with the FBI as a cyber informant, and continue his hacking exploits under the supervision of the FBI. The FBI has come out and stated that thanks to their black-turned-white hat hacker, potential high-profile attacks against U.S. armed forces, the U.S. Congress, and NASA have been thwarted. During his 2014 hearing, after 3 years in cahoots with the government, a spokesperson had this to say about Hector's efforts. Quote, "Monsegur's consistent and corroborated historical information, coupled with his substantial proactive cooperation and other evidence developed in the case, contributed directly to the identification, prosecution, and conviction of 8 of his major co-conspirators, including Jeremy Hammond, who at the time of his arrest was the FBI's #1 cybercriminal target in the world." End quote. We'll get to Jeremy in a minute. Since 2015, Hector has been quietly working as the lead penetration tester for a small Seattle-based security firm called Rhino Security Labs. He manages a 6-person team that breaks into clients' networks to pinpoint any vulnerabilities in their systems, and then he helps to patch those holes to avoid any legitimate future attacks. Whether it's Anonymous, Lulzsec, or any other hacking collective or individual at the helm, even though the FBI does treat each instance on a case-by-case basis, there are a few general guidelines that they follow, regardless of the circumstances. Just to give you an idea, here are some of the FBI's official protocol. Law enforcement at all levels has the legal authority to intercept and access communications and information pursuant to court orders. The FBI does not support paying a ransom in response to a ransomware attack. Paying a ransom doesn't guarantee an organization will get its data back. Furthermore, as we've seen with Sabu, the FBI isn't opposed to luring the enemy onto their side in exchange for a more lenient sentence. They've done it before. Ukrainian tech whiz and clinical hacker Maxim Popov was given one of 2 choices the moment he arrived on American soil. Maxim could either A, become an FBI informant, working around the clock to lure his former criminal partners into a sticky FBI trap, or B, go straight to prison. The best informants, however, remain secretive and unknown, so it's entirely possible that there are still dozens of cunning hackers working for the other side. On another occasion, when the FBI was trying to take down Kirill Viktorovich Fursov, the mastermind behind Deer.io, in order to infiltrate the cybercrime web, agents went undercover and pretended to be buyers of stolen information. They certainly have the budget and the resources, that's for sure. Take the FBI's New York office, for example. Their cyber division is divided into 5 teams of investigators. One of those teams is tasked with getting digital evidence off cell phones or cameras, and the remaining 4 divide their attention to cybercrime based on the hacker's country of origin. Spread across 56 field offices, cybercrime agents have access to a $9.31 billion budget, with an average of 635 agents employed in each office to put that money to good work, to causes like unmasking Hector Monsegur. But Hector Monsegur hasn't been the only member of Anonymous to come under fire at the hands of the authorities. With widespread resources at their disposal, they were also able to track down Jeremy Hammond. Hammond was one of the main minds behind the Stratfor intelligence firm hack. A data analysis firm indicated that 9,651 active credit cards, 47,680 unique email addresses, 25,680 phone numbers, and 44,188 encrypted passwords were hacked from Stratfor's email database. And those only cover the names listed A through M, so the numbers could have doubled once all the cards had been flipped. Even though Hammond stresses that he had not benefited personally in any way from the Stratfor email release, he was still sentenced to a maximum 10 years in jail, plus 3 years supervised release. Ironically, the majority of the illegal activity that he conducted was under direct instruction from Hector Monsegur, an informant working for the FBI. But what if hackers like Jeremy Hammond recalibrated their guidelines? What would happen if Anonymous left their illegal exploits in the past and morphed into a legitimate organization? Their equipment and human assets would net the company's valuation likely in the hundreds of millions, if not more. With some of the most talented hackers in the world on their roster, they would undoubtedly be raking in high salaries. Certified ethical hackers make an average annual income of $99,000, although that number isn't quite as high as the illegal income of some of the world's current highest-earning cybercriminals. Top-level cybercriminals are making up to $2 million a year, mid-level criminals up to $900,000, and entry-level hackers around $42,000. Either way, it's a growth market. A legitimized Anonymous would be able to team up with government agencies and put a stop to countless threats without crossing so many lines. But should they? Do you think Anonymous should become legit and collaborate with governments? Or are their actions justified as is? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks so much for checking out The Richest. See you next time and have a great day.